She walks in smiling, calm, polite, just 17 years old. But don't let that grin fool you, because the moment that bell rings, Smilla Sundell becomes something else entirely. A Muay Thai hurricane, armed with sniper-precise elbows, knees that sound like baseball bats, and pressure so relentless it breaks opponents before the final bell. In just 5 fights, she went from a teenager training in Thailand to one championship's youngest ever world champion. But behind the records, the belts, and the brutal knockouts, there's a story of missed weight and brutal redemption, of world champions and violent ends. Today, we break down 5 fights that proved Smilla Sundell isn't just a future legend. She's already living it. Let's dive in. When 17-year-old Smilla Sundell walked into one championship, she wasn't just carrying a gym bag, she was carrying a storm. Known as the Hurricane, the Swedish phenom already had over 30 fights on her resume and the respect of every gym in Thailand. Training out of the legendary Fairtex Training Center, she had grown up learning how to tear through pads, sparring adults before she could legally drive. Calm, composed, and devastatingly dangerous, Sundell's debut wasn't just a fight, it was a statement in the making. On the other side stood Diandra Martin, a tough and experienced striker from Australia with sharp technique and a strong chin. At 26, she brought maturity, composure, and a hunger to upset the hype. Martin knew she wasn't just facing a teenager. She was stepping into the ring with a prodigy who hadn't yet hit her ceiling. But with more life experience and a solid striking base, Martin came in prepared to weather the storm and turn the spotlight her way. From the opening bell, Sundell was a whirlwind of violence. Long limbs snapping into jabs, teeps piercing the body, and knees crashing through the guard. Diandra Martin had no space to breathe. Sundell's forward pressure was relentless, pushing Martin onto the back foot as she launched waves of attacks. In rounds 1 and 2, the Hurricane lived up to her name, dropping Martin twice with vicious knees that echoed through the arena. Martin tried to clinch, move, and counter, but every gap in her defense was exploited with ruthless precision. By the 3rd round, the end felt inevitable. Martin, showing heart, tried to mount a comeback, but it only fueled Sundell's fire. With clinical efficiency, Sundell unleashed a stunning 3-punch combination, 2 hooks and a straight left, that sent Martin crashing to the canvas for the final time. It was a highlight reel finish, the kind that turns a debut into a legend. With that brutal TKO, Sundell not only pushed her record to 32-5-1, she punched her ticket straight into a title shot. The message was loud and clear. Age doesn't matter when you hit like a truck and fight like a veteran. The stakes couldn't have been higher for 17-year-old Smilla Sundell. Fresh off her electrifying debut, where she bulldozed through Diandra Martin, the Swedish teen was now thrust into the co-main event of 156, this time with history on the line. A win would make her the youngest world champion ever. She wasn't just representing Fairtex Gym or even her country. Sundell was carrying the pressure of proving that youth, when combined with discipline and fire, could dismantle experience. Facing her across the cage was Jackie Bunton, a California-born striker with crisp boxing, explosive counters, and a calm, calculated fight IQ. Unlike Sundell, Buntan was battle-tested under the one-lights. Her footwork, defensive movement, and ability to time punches made her a nightmare matchup for anyone charging forward carelessly. While Sundell was seen as the aggressor, Buntan had the blueprint to disrupt her rhythm and steal the crown. It wasn't just a title fight, it was raw power versus polished technique. From the opening bell, Sundell brought the storm. Her long jab flicked like a whip, slicing through the air to keep Buntan honest. But the American didn't flinch. She timed her entries, slipping shots and launching short flurries that let Sundell know she was in a real fight. Bunton's cross-hook low kick combos landed with authority, but Sundell's pressure never slowed. If anything, the pain only woke the Hurricane up. By round 3, she was clinching, battering, and bullying Buntan with knees and elbows that thundered through the Singapore indoor stadium. As the fight rolled into the championship rounds, Sundell somehow looked fresher, like she'd just warmed up. The relentless march forward never stopped. Her right hand became a piston, her kicks landed with the weight of an avalanche, and her elbows carved through space like razors. Bunton stayed game, throwing spinning elbows and hard counters, but Sundell's volume and willpower were unmatched. By the final bell, there was no doubt the youngest fighter in the arena had just earned the biggest prize, a unanimous decision, a $50,000 bonus, and her name etched in the history books, Smilla Sundell, the teenage Muay Thai queen. After dominating the Muay Thai world as a teenage phenom, Smilla Sundell entered 2024 with fire in her eyes and goals still on her mind. Now 18, the youngest world champion in one championship history, was transitioning into kickboxing, bringing with her the same ruthless pace and precision that had terrorized the strawweight division. Her opponent, Milana Bieloglich, wasn't a household name, but she was tough, relentless, and determined to earn her respect the hard way. While Sundell's fight with Jackie Bunton had fallen through, and her bout with Iman Barlow disappeared after the English veteran's retirement, this clash with Bieloglich was more than a placeholder. It was a statement. After 8 months away from the spotlight, Sundell needed to remind the world exactly who she was. And from the opening bell, she did just that. The Hurricane pressed forward like a storm building strength, firing off punishing jabs, crushing liver shots, and a high kick that nearly took Bialoglich's head off. Milana wasn't backing down, though. Bloodied but not broken, she pushed forward, absorbing the punishment and throwing back with reckless abandon. In round 2, the punishment piled on. Sundell looked close to a stoppage more than once, stringing together crisp combinations, landing clean knees, and drowning Bieloglich in pressure. But the Serbian refused to go away. Every time Sundell surged forward, Bieloglich would swing back with grit and desperation. It wasn't clean, it wasn't always pretty, but it was courageous. By round 3, the fight had become less about who would win, because that was already clear, and more about how much heart Bieloglich could show. And she showed plenty. Sundell never let up, still firing sharp punches and blistering kicks while maintaining perfect balance and control. But Milana stood tall till the end, bloodied, battered, and still fighting. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt. Smilla Sundell had painted another violent masterpiece, winning by unanimous decision in her kickboxing debut. She didn't need a knockout this time. Her performance spoke volumes. The message was clear. Sundell wasn't just a teen sensation anymore. She was evolving, and if this was her version of growing up, the rest of the division better grow cautious. When Smilla Sundell stepped into the Singapore Indoor Stadium on September 29, 2023, the stakes couldn't have been higher. At just 18 years old, she carried the pressure of being the youngest champion in one history. And the weight of a golden belt many thought Rodriguez would rip from her waist. Alicia Rodriguez wasn't just any challenger. She was a reigning atomweight queen, moving up a division to become a 2-division world champ. A classic clash was brewing, youth versus experience, reach versus power, and relentless aggression versus surgical technique. As the bell rang, it was Rodriguez who came out with fire. Her crisp left hook snapped Sundell's head back. Her body shots thudded like warning drums. The Brazilian wasn't here to play. She wanted to rattle the teen star early and often. But Sundell, true to her nickname, the Hurricane, wasn't going to be blown away. Near the end of the first round, she fired back with a vicious left hook of her own. A tide-turning moment that signaled the champ wasn't just surviving. She was starting to hunt. Round 2 saw Sundell switch gears. Her long jab, her brutal straight right. Everything started landing with force. She pushed Rodriguez to the circle wall and bullied her in the clinch. Rodriguez tried to return fire with elbows and knees, but the 5 feet 8-inch Swede was simply too much. Sundell's size, her precision, and her unrelenting pace turned the Brazilian's clinch game into a war zone. With each elbow and knee, Sundell chipped away at her opponent's will, and the crowd felt the momentum shift completely. As round 3 ticked away, Rodriguez pushed for one last opportunity, but Sundell wasn't just ahead. She was hunting the finish. A sharp jab, a punishing knee, an elbow. The flurry began, a storm of strikes that had Rodriguez reeling, absorbing damage with nowhere to run. And then, with just 2 seconds left in the round, the referee stepped in. TKO victory, history. Smilla Sundell had defended her world title in spectacular fashion, and proved once again, she's not just the future of Muay Thai, she's the present. Coming into One Fight Night 22, Smilla Sundell was riding high as one of Muay Thai's youngest champions. But the week quickly turned into a nightmare. Just 19 years old, the Swedish phenom missed weight by 1.5 pounds and was immediately stripped of her strawweight Muay Thai title. The matchup with Russian knockout artist Natalia Dyakova was still on, but the stakes had shifted. If Dyakova won, she'd walk away with the belt. If Sundell won, no belt, no bonus, just redemption. From the opening bell, it looked like the storm had passed, and Sundell was caught in it. Dyakova came out blazing, snapping Sundell's head back with sharp jabs and looping rights. The Swede's timing was off, her defense shaky, and her left eye visibly damaged by the end of round 1. Round 2 didn't start much better. The Russian kept the pressure high, landing hard and often. For the first time in her career, Sundell looked vulnerable. Shaky legs, double vision, in a nightmare unfolding on live broadcasts. But just as the round neared its end, the Hurricane reminded everyone why she got that name. A thunderous right cross staggered Dyakova. Then came a left hook to the liver that folded her like a lawn chair. Smelling blood, Sundell swarmed, knees, punches, and elbows pouring in as the Russian crumbled into the ropes. At 2:59 of round 2, the referee stepped in. No belt, no bonus, just a brutal comeback that sent a message to the division. You can strip the gold, but you can't strip the fight from Smilla Sundell.